Hello everybody, I'm Courtney and I'll be the driver of this session.
Hi, my name is Roy and I'll be the navigator.
So this is Unit 1, Lesson 6 and 7. So we'll start with Lesson 6, obviously, in order. So basically here, it's another web page, but for this one, we're basically just accessing like info, index, contact, or whatever is here. So by doing that, we're going to do a / and go / will take us to a page that just says buy. It was just a little experiment. If you want to go to index.html, it will give you the views of the actual index page. So I think that would say welcome. So we can also add in a contact one, and then it can give you a contact page. But let me go through the code. So obviously here our variables are being declared. So we're just importing the required modules. This is the core module to create our HTTP server, and then the HTTP status codes, which you install via your terminal. Those are for the readable HTTP status code constants. Our router is to handle routes, so routes being like index.html, and then FS, I think that stands for file service. I could be wrong. File system. Sorry, file system. Don't know why I thought service. But it's a file system module to read files, and then this is just going to define the response headers for plain text. Same thing here. This is a custom function to read and serve a file. So also, I haven't mentioned this before, but this little arrow is an auto trigger to auto trigger a function. So it is going to auto trigger this function and do it again. And then basically what it's going to do is send the file content as a response. So client end, which would be your front end. So what we see here is our back end, the server end. What the client would see is the client end, the front end. So we're using get and post requests. So here's our first get request. So it's going to handle get requests to route the /, and then it's going to respond with a plain text buy. Again, I can also make it say like page under development, for example. And okay, this just makes it be able to like read error codes like 44200, that kind of stuff. And this will just come through as like plain text. I will show you when I run the server. This get request is going to handle the index HTML, and then it's going to read and return the HTML file from the views. So here we have our index one, and then it's just going to like serve the HTML file. I'll also show you that one. And then we have our post request. So this handle post request is to route the /. It's going to respond with the plain text posted. And then we're going to create our server, and then it's going to use a router to handle the incoming requests, so the / requests, and then it's obviously going to log a message when the server starts. This one is our main. This is our router for lesson 6, if I'm correct, yes. So again, this is just importing the status codes, and then we're going to define the content type for the HTML response, and then we're moving on to defining a simple routing object with method as keys. So again, it's just really defining the get request. So we have our routes, and then it's the routes is our variable. So we're going to get, and then it's like an example of a route, which would be info, for example. Don't have an info page yet. Obviously, could add it. Same thing as our main, but it's just our server. So if it can't like find something, it responds with an else. So if we maybe go for Okay, we go for index. It's going to give us something. If we type in something that we don't have, such as like contact or info, it's going to respond with a else statement, so no such file exists. It's basically what this is just doing. This function is to register a new get root. So exports is just basically declaring the variable. And then the function is to register a new post root. So let me just open this up. Okay, now we're gonna go, this is a main, yeah. Now you'll see the server is running on port number 8000. I changed it. It was 3000, but it is now 8000. So I want to mention here you can see this. Sorry, this one. Um, so it was supposed to have like you can have the number in here, but that means you have to change it both places. If you just have port, it will automatically go with what you changed it at the top, what you changed the variable to at the top. So now we go local host 8000. Yeah, so this is our normal forward dash page. So we're going to go forward dash. Let's go index.html, and this can take us to welcome. Now we can easily go back to the other page by just doing the forward dash, and that is that. Okay, moving on. Lesson 7. So I'm going to go through content types first. So basically this was building like a very simple web page for recipes. It's called confetti connoisseur, I think. We'll check now anyway. So we all know what use strict is for by this point. Again, we're just going to export an object that maps the file extensions to the appropriate content type headers. So we've got HTML. This will obviously be in our reviews. It's just getting the text file for HTML files, plain text responses, our JavaScripts and stuff, your images and your CSS. That's basically just what content type is. Very simple. Maybe I should read the notes though. Okay, our notes are module.exports makes this object available to other files that require it. Each key corresponds to a file extension. The content type value tells the browser how to interpret the data in the response. This is super useful for serving static files. So I'll show you on the web page itself, but an example of a static file would be a content page, for example. Yeah, again, same thing as before. We're just declaring our variables here. You can change the port if you want to, but I haven't, I've just left it. Again, declaring the get, it's our variable for get. It's just a get request, push request. Sorry, no push request. There's also no post request here, but we can type in any, and it will any of like these. So like after the four dashes, we could type this in our search bar above, in Internet Explorer or Chrome, to take us to that specific page. Yeah, so same thing as before. Not going to dive too deep into that because I basically just explained it. Here again, just declaring the variables of all the stuff. And then our root is just creating our two objects for get and post because we're getting a get request and then we're going to post a post request. So this one here, it takes two parameters, the request and their response, which are objects representing the incoming HTTP request and the outgoing HTTP response. So this is just going to access information outside of the module itself. And then it's going to try to find a handler function for the given HTTP method. It can be found like it's found within the call request, yeah, and response objects. If there is no matching handler function found, it catches the error and sends a generic error page. So like 404, or I think the other one's 200 as like a response. Um, and then we just have our normal actions here. So our URL at the top again, and then the action of that is like type in the forward dash content, for example, contact. And then this action just like defines behavior of the logic that should be executed when the particular route is accessed. Um, yeah, and then this one, again, it's just importing the required modules. It just makes it easier for everything to be able to be read. We're going to export the method to read as a serve a file, to read and serve a file, sorry. We're going to get a file, so this is going to attempt to read a specified file from the disk. If there's any error, it's going to send a 500 response with HTML content type. So yeah, if successful, it's going to send dot as a response. So basically, the front end would actually be working. Open, and then the main one. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we can just go back to our browser, change that to 300, and boom, confetti cuisine. I think I said connoisseur earlier. I don't know. I can't remember, but it's called confetti cuisine. Confetti cuisine. So here is our homepage. Then we have courses and then contact. So you can see we didn't get an error, so there is no 500 response page or generic page. So yeah, that's basically what this was.